After catching my husband in an affair with my sister, everyone pressured me to give up the position of lady of the Fu family. I didn't cry or make a fuss. I left the family with half of the property. Later, I took in 3 children under my care. They became business magnates, top entertainment stars, and professors coveted by top research teams. At the end of this year, my own son found me, living in seclusion in the countryside, looking at me lying flat in the yard, basking in the sun. He sneered derisively. If it weren't for Grandpa and Grandma being old and missing you, I wouldn't have wanted to come to this lousy countryside to pick you up and bring you home for the new year. After you left home, my eldest brother inherited the Fu family. My second sister became a $1 million internet celebrity, and I got into a prestigious school. Our family's life has improved as well. Mom, you abandoned us for money back then. Now, do you regret it? Chapter 1. Diego looked at me arrogantly, as if waiting for me to regret my past actions, but I looked at him calmly and nodded slightly. The school A is not bad either. Rounding up, it also means that Simon is an alumnus. Like Simon, a prodigious genius. Such talents are rare in this world. Perhaps I didn't show the demeanor he expected, and a hint of displeasure flashed in his eyes. But soon he laughed contemptuously. The new year is coming soon. Grandpa and Grandma are always talking about family reunions. This Lunar New Year's Day also happens to be Grandpa's 80th birthday. Grandma is old and worries about you, her daughter. She insisted that I come to pick you up and bring you back. Mom, you're already in your 60s. You should understand. I pondered for a moment. After all, my father and mother have shown me some kindness. The elderly parents are already old. And if there are any disagreements, as children, we should show filial piety. Diego looked at me with a hint of disdain, scrutinizing the countryside house I had just bought and hadn't had time to renovate. Unable to help but make a sarcastic remark. Looks like after leaving us these years, your life hasn't been going so well. But don't worry, legally you are still our mother. When you get old, we will provide you with support. But let me make it clear. Although Grandma acknowledges you as her daughter, in our hearts, we've long considered Aunt as our real mother. I quietly observed the young man in front of me. The disdain in his eyes was the same as before. That boy back then stood coldly at the top of the stairs. He was small, but his strength was frightening, pushing me, who was running a high fever, down the stairs in one push. He looked at me warily. You're not my mother. Aunt is my real mother. Dad and Mom should be together. Don't hurt my mother. You bad woman. Aurelia, hiding behind him, had a satisfied smirk in her eyes. Diego's push caused my lower leg to break, and combined with the high fever, I was unconscious in the hospital for 3 days. However, everyone took Aurelia's side, accusing me of making things difficult for her. Sister, you admitted that you hit me, scolded me, and slandered me. But you can't even scheme against your own child. I only lightly touched Mom. It was Mom who fell herself. I looked at Diego in shock. You're lying. 7-year-old Diego cried uncontrollably. I'm not lying. It's clearly Mom lying. It's Mom who wanted to hit Aunt. Aurelia next to him lovingly held Diego, continuously wiping his aggrieved tears. Vincent, on the side, frowned deeply, his eyes full of anger. Diego is only 7. Can he lie? How strong can a child be? Freya, how could you be such a petty-minded woman? Moreover, Diego is your own son. I looked at Diego supporting Aurelia, feeling a deep disappointment in my heart. Yes, he is my own son, my flesh and blood, turned into a dagger in others' hands, deeply stabbing me. Now, looking at Diego before me, I no longer felt any affection. Only disappointment. I couldn't help but scoff. Don't worry. I've already divorced your dad. After this new year, I'll leave. Before returning home, I sent a message in the group chat. This new year, let's go back to your grandma's house. Almost instantly, 3 replies were received, making my heart feel warm. Over the years, with these adopted sons by my side, I was not alone. The next day, I packed my things and returned to the Lin family with Diego. The Lin family still looked the same as in my memories, and I was somewhat stunned. Entering the house, I saw the person closest to Diego, My ex-husband's current wife is my own sister, Aurelia. She was elegantly dressed in a cheapao, draped with a velvet shawl, smiling warmly as she welcomed the arriving relatives and friends, approaching me with enthusiasm. Sister, after all these years, you finally decided to come and see us. Mom and I were very worried about you. Today is Dad's 80th birthday. We really looked forward to you coming back. It's cold outside. Come inside and have a cup of hot tea. The surrounding relatives were gossiping, looking at me with somewhat complicated expressions. It seemed they were blaming me, as the eldest daughter, for not caring about the family all these years. I obviously understood her petty thoughts, but I was too lazy to bother with her. However, Diego behind me frowned, deliberately running to me and shouting loudly in front of me, "Mom, I specially brought you a lot of gifts this time. Look at this jade bracelet. Diego is so filial. This bracelet is really beautiful. You spent quite a bit on it, didn't you?" Aurelia looked at me, with a hint of pride in her eyes. This was a scholarship from school. Moreover, it's natural for a son to spend money on his mother. Watching the heartwarming scene of a filial mother and son, I calmly sipped my tea. Diego was indeed a good child, but the mother he recognized was not me. Freya, my daughter, you've suffered so much over the years. Why have you lost so much weight? Lynn, the elderly matriarch, walked out of the house looking at me, with a trace of tears in her eyes. Just come back. That's enough. Just come back. After all, I was her own eldest daughter. Lynn looked at me with a touch of pity in her eyes. They indeed made their eldest daughter suffer injustices. Back then, when Lynn's father failed in his investments and the family went bankrupt, the eldest daughter had to drop out of school early to work. Yet, they used the money I sent back, lived frugally, and sent Aurelia to university. Later, I took out my own dowry to buy back the old house for them, allowing the elderly couple to retire peacefully. After Aurelia returned to the country, I arranged for her to work in the Fu family. She diligently took care of the 3 children at home. I couldn't help but sneer. So what if I was more careful? However, they preferred elegance and intellect, favoring the highly educated Aurelia. They felt that Aurelia resonated with their thoughts, while I was just an unremarkable housewife. The Fu family grew bigger and bigger. Compared to me, Aurelia was more like a high society lady. Even Vincent attended social gatherings with her by his side. Clearly, I had accompanied Vincent in establishing the Fu family. I had raised the children and given up educational opportunities, but I never expected that each of them would steadfastly side with Aurelia. The husband who once supported me faithfully cheated on me with his own sister-in-law right under my nose. Everyone covered for them. Even my children all stood by her side. Mom, Aunt is family. She studied abroad, and her becoming the lady of the Fu family is good for all of us. My eldest son David deliberated for a long time before cautiously speaking. Yes, Mom, in high society, saving face is the most important. My second daughter Diana nodded in agreement, earnestly advising me. Only Aunt understands me. Aunt is my real mother, Diego said to me without hesitation. Only then did I realize that my husband had long fallen in love with my sister, and my children had become someone else's. The day I discovered their affair, my parents and I had a long conversation through the night. Your sister is also stubborn. She has finally returned from studying abroad, and now that the Lin and Fu families have prestige in the circle, we can't let your sister remain unmarried forever. Can we? We are family. She will definitely treat the children well. You just tell them that you and Vincent have been divorced long ago. We, the old couple, will give you another house. You can live out of sight. Freya, you should let your sister take the position of lady of the Fu family. My father's words struck me deep in the heart. Looking at the absurd family before me, I decisively signed the divorce agreement. Taking my share of the property, I resolutely left the family. Chapter 2. I returned to the countryside and bought a simple little house. Life here, tending to flowers and growing vegetables, wasn't bad. My children resented me for taking their inheritance. In their eyes, I became a vicious woman who abandoned them for money. They refused to recognize me as their mother. But it didn't matter. Over the years, I had adopted 3 new children. The first was Anna, who had run away from the neighboring village. Her biological parents demanded 50,000 yuan to marry her off to a bachelor at the village entrance. I exchanged 100,000 yuan for her new life. She was beautiful and quick to learn. The second was Bruno, who had stolen bread from a local shopkeeper and was beaten nearly to death. I paid for his compensation, brought him home, prepared a table full of hot food, and provided him with clean clothes. A spark of hope lit up in his dim eyes. Simon was the third, found by Bruno and Anna at the village station. Simon watched the departing car, his face full of helpless abandonment. I sighed, clutching my dwindling wallet, gritting my teeth as I let them bring the boys home. Over the years, they had been with me. This time, don't leave again. Lynn's elderly matriarch looked at me with pity. Child, you've suffered so much over the years. She doesn't want us. Diego snorted from beside me. Back then, Dad clearly said he would take good care of her. Now that she's out, she realizes she's useless? I looked at Diego, a hint of sarcasm in my eyes. Back then, I did my best to raise him. He was frail, and I was always by his side. However, he hated my restrictions and preferred Aurelia's leniency. Before I could speak, I saw Grandpa Lin and Vincent's group walking in, laughing and chatting. Grandpa, Grandma, Diana, with a sweet smile, rushed into Lynn's embrace. The moment she saw me, her smile stiffened, a flash of disgust crossing her face. Why are you still here? Mom, what are you trying to stir up again? My eldest son David stepped forward, protecting Aurelia. Before I could respond, Lynn's matriarch scolded. I sent Freya back. Really? Right before the new year? Forcing her to come back is so bad luck, Diego muttered. My father and Vincent also wore unpleasant expressions. It's rare for you to come home. Aurelia stepped forward, displaying the grace of the hostess. The guests began to gossip. Sure enough, the youngest daughter of the Lin family is sensible. Yes, she studied abroad. Her broad perspective is something else. No mother could be so ruthless, abandoning her children like that. Grandpa, we've prepared gifts for you. Our assistants have arranged people to deliver them shortly. Hearing this, Grandpa Lin's face lit up. I heard the Fu family's 3 children are all elites. The eldest son is the head of the Fu family. The second daughter is a million-follower internet celebrity. And the youngest son is a top student from University A. Lady of the Fu family is truly enjoying her life. The eldest daughter of the Lin family is so foolish, abandoning her husband and children for such petty gains. Someone beside them tugged his sleeve, signaling him to stop. Grandpa Lin's face darkened as he turned his ire towards me. Why are you back? You haven't given us any news for over a decade. Now that you're not doing well, you suddenly decide to return? You came back alone? Grandpa Lin looked behind me at my empty back, his eyes full of disdain. You still have 3 grandchildren. They're busy with work and will arrive later. I looked at Grandpa Lin calmly. When did you get married? I didn't know. You mean they're already working? So you've been having children behind my back all this time. Shameful thing. Hearing my son-in-law's words, Grandpa Lin heavily tapped his cane on the ground. Before he could finish speaking, a courteous man appeared at the door. Everyone couldn't help but marvel at his distinguished demeanor. This seems to be the company that delivers expensive luxury gifts. They only accept orders over 10 million, and I heard the delivery fee is tens of thousands. Excuse me, who is Lady of the Lin family? These are the New Year gifts specially delivered by your children. Please sign for them. Seeing the impressive man, Aurelia smiled and stepped forward. The 3 children of Lady of the Lin family are truly filial. Look, even the delivery person is so remarkable. These gifts must be very expensive, right? Aurelia approached with a smile, but after signing, the leading man called her back. He looked at her with a complex expression, stopping her from opening the package. The recipient listed here is MS. Freya. Ma'am, we do not allow proxy signing. Chapter 3. Who is supposed to sign for the package? Diego stepped forward in disbelief. When he saw the sender, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. It must be a mistake. The recipient should be my mom. I glanced at Diego, a hint of sarcasm in my eyes. Sir, these items are extremely valuable. We can only allow the person themselves to sign for them. The leading man looked troubled, But I smiled and stepped forward, presenting my ID and signing my name. The delivery boy breathed a sigh of relief and courteously bowed before leaving. Their company never makes mistakes in verification. These were gifts sent by those three big shots. Aurelia squeezed past me and began to unpack the items, displaying them for everyone to see. It's impressive that these three children prepared such gifts for us. Expensive jewelry, luxurious wine, and priceless health supplements were laid out before us. David and Diana were momentarily stunned, noticing that the items differed from what they had prepared. These gifts certainly couldn't have come from Freya. Moreover, Freya, with just a high school diploma, wouldn't have access to such high-level items. It must have been meant for them, and the name was simply written incorrectly. Realizing this, they naturally took credit for the gifts. It's all Freya's fault. Ever since we were in the same household, she always felt unlucky. Listening to everyone praise them, they smiled and lifted Aurelia up. Yes, we're proud to have such a good mother. Indeed, Aurelia is wonderful. Freya came back home empty-handed. During festivals and even in tough times, a child's filial piety should still be there. Clearly, the eldest daughter is incapable of contributing anything substantial. Aurelia walked forward with a bright smile. Sister, I know you've had a hard time over the years, but as younger generations, we should set a good example. You came back empty-handed, which isn't appropriate. Although the children are grown and don't need red envelopes, you still need to show filial piety to mom and dad. Why don't you pay mom and dad a proper New Year's visit? It would bring some joy to this festive season. Aurelia covered her mouth, smiling sweetly at me. Aurelia, don't forget that I'm the one who should be signing for these gifts. Are you so certain these items are yours? Mom, Dad, these are New Year gifts specially prepared by your three grandchildren. I looked at Aurelia, a hint of coldness in my eyes. Upon hearing this, Diego and the others simultaneously frowned. Freya, you're so shameless. Diego shouted at me. Who doesn't know these nutritional supplements are made by University A's research team? They're priceless outside. Yes, Ms. Lynn. These jewelry pieces were sent by Phoenix Media. Without a doubt, they must have been sent by my investor, Anna. Fu family's recent project partner is the Ku family. Mom, don't say such things and offend important people. Diana and David nodded in agreement. Sister, I know you've always loved competing with me for things since we were young, but some things aren't yours. Forcing it won't help. After saying this, Diana looked tearfully at Vincent. Vincent stood in front of her, his gaze towards me icy cold. Freya, don't push things too far. What's the occasion today? Why are you causing a scene? Hurry up and kneel down to apologize and say some auspicious words to bring good fortune. Forget it. Let's all get along peacefully as a family. Lynn's matriarch tried to ease the tense atmosphere, knowing all too well my eldest daughter's true nature. If you don't kneel down and properly apologize to Aurelia today, Freya, you can forget about carrying the Lynn surname. Grandpa Lynn was successfully incited. This daughter is not only unsuccessful but also caused a public scene during his 80th birthday. Would she let him lose face once again? Vincent looked at me calmly, but for some reason, this demeanor made him increasingly dislike me. She shouldn't be holding her head high like a swan. She should always be bowing in front of him. Why does Freya seem to be doing better after leaving him? No, Freya would always have to look up to him in this lifetime. He quietly instructed his assistant. The assistant, seeing Aurelia's expression, immediately understood. Their company president is here to back up his wife. During the Lunar New Year, who wouldn't want to make some extra money? It seemed that this Lynn family eldest daughter was also penniless and powerless. As long as she could please the president's wife, she could make the four elders of the Fu family happy. Don't touch me. I frowned and turned my body to avoid, while David and Diana also frowned but didn't stop him. However, I didn't expect Diego behind me to kick me in the waist. I fell to the ground, and an assistant immediately grabbed me, trying to push me down. I'll see who dares to touch my mom. The shouts echoed, and everyone instinctively looked towards the entrance. Chapter 4. Bruno and Simon walked in with stern faces, their complexions dark. Simon kicked the assistant aside and helped me to my feet. Mom, are you okay? Bruno's eyes showed a hint of darkness. Auntie has many people around. It'll take a bit longer. She asked us to come first. Mom, do you want me to help you handle? I shook my head, looking at Diego with complete disappointment in my eyes. Freya, you're really something. Bringing such shady people to disrupt my birthday celebration. You're not welcome here. Get out! Just pretend Lucas, don't have you as a daughter. Grandpa Lin. Lucas frowned and couldn't help but shout angrily. Yes. And we don't have a mother like you either. Diego shouted loudly at me. Although David and Diana didn't say anything, the approval was clear in their eyes as they looked at Diego. The guests were gossiping and pointing fingers at me, whispering among themselves. I stopped Simon and Bruno, looking at this ungrateful family before me. If I hadn't given up my studies and married early, the Lin family would have collapsed long ago. Where is it a family of scholars? Where would Aurelia have the chance to study abroad? If I hadn't accompanied Vincent in starting the business, enduring one glass of alcohol after another during his social engagements, ultimately leading to a stomach hemorrhage, and if the investors hadn't felt sympathetic, how could he have secured the first profitable deal? As for these 3 children, I had invested my heart and soul in raising them, yet they ultimately felt I was inadequate. I gave a sarcastic smile. All right, since that's the case, I am no longer your mother, your daughter. I will have someone send the severance papers. We're leaving. Since my mother doesn't recognize you, you probably won't need these New Year gifts either. Take them away. Bruno kept a stern face, instructing the assistant beside him to carry the items away. You dare! These are gifts from superstar Anna, and my professor asked me to deliver them to Grandpa. Aren't you afraid of offending them? The Ku family is about to become a partner of our Fu family. Superstar Anna is my sister's investor, and I am the proud student of Professor Lin from University A. Bruno and Simon looked towards Diego behind them, exchanging glances with a hint of darkness in their eyes. Soon, a strange smile appeared on their faces, their eyes probing as they looked at me. I gently nodded at them, indicating my consent. So, Bruno is your partner? Bruno looked at David, smiling warmly, yet his smile carried a touch of coldness. That's right. David looked at the man in front of him, his face showing a hint of contempt. Upon hearing that he was a partner of the Ku family, even the most arrogant guy would treat him with respect. Over the years, relying on the Ku family's strong support, he had reaped many benefits. However, Bruno looked at him and coldly laughed. Not anymore. Bruno dialed the phone in his hand, whispering a few words. Which company are you from? David frowned, feeling uncomfortable with the man before him. The man before him seemed to be a lower-level executive from some company. But in Beijing, he had encountered influential figures. David naturally wouldn't associate Bruno with a lower social class. He held Freya in contempt from the bottom of his heart. How successful could Freya be being with Freya? Once this matter is over, he plans to teach this young man a good lesson, make him unable to stand in Beijing any longer. However, the next phone call changed his expression. What's going on? Why is the Ku family saying they want to terminate this cooperation? Bro, don't worry. There must have been some misunderstanding. You deal with your own matters first. Diego looked at us coldly. You're still a university student, right? He turned to inspect Simon. I believe that having studied, you should be reasonable. The woman by your side is just an unreasonable shrew. Oh. Simon thoughtfully stared at the University A emblem on Diego's chest. Are you a student of University A? A proud smile flashed across Diego's face as he puffed out his chest. He had deliberately brought out that emblem. Do you know Professor Simon from University A? I am about to become his top disciple. Given his status in academia, getting you out of the ivory tower would be a matter of minutes. How come I didn't know I was his top disciple? A meaningful smile passed over his face. He looked at Bruno, sharing a knowing smile, and dialed the phone in his hand. You can't expect people with such different backgrounds to get along. Does the Freya family have some kind of problem? They love to act so much. This young man, could he be having a mental breakdown? However, the subsequent phone call left him slumped on the ground. What did you say? My application to join the research group was rejected. Aurelia, standing nearby, watched Diego with a sinking feeling in her heart. Diego, what's going on? Mom, The admissions office said my application to join the research group has been cancelled. They even told me to pack up and leave the school. Quick. Ask your advisor. Didn't he promise to secure your position with funding? Aurelia covered her mouth mid-sentence. Simon smiled sweetly at him. No need to ask. That Tom guy has just retired early. You're lying. My advisor is coming to attend the birthday banquet later. Diego's eyes reddened as he looked warily at Simon. Diana held up her phone, her eyes reflecting a hint of darkness as she looked at them. Everyone. Let's be reasonable. These people showed up at my house for no reason, causing a scene at my grandpa's birthday banquet and trying to steal things. They're nothing but bandits. Such terrible people should be despised by society. However, within minutes, the live stream was shut down. But as a million-follower internet celebrity, Diana still held some influence. She believed that soon, photos of Bruno and Simon would spread across the internet. They might have some power, causing trouble for her eldest brother and Xiao Jing over there. She had to do something. I looked at her, a hint of coldness in my eyes. She wanted to use the power of the internet to condemn Simon and Bruno, but in the face of absolute power, her actions would only bury her own future. Diana looked at me triumphantly. Freya, even if you have connections and education, so what? Compared to influence, you are nothing. My investor is the superstar Anna, and I was nurtured by a top-tier media company. The eyes of the public are sharp. What does your capital matter? Our Phoenix Media fears nothing but capital. Is that so? Then from now on, I hereby announce that Phoenix Media is terminating our contract with you. I have already instructed PR to clarify all your slanders. If nothing unexpected happens, you'll face a complete online ban. Anna walked in with a sweet smile, a hint of reproach on her face. The guests couldn't help but cover their mouths in surprise. The person before them was not the superstar Anna from television. Seeing the real-life superstar Anna made this trip to the Fu family worthwhile. Mom, a few paparazzi are always following me. If it weren't for my eldest brother sending assistant Claude to pick me up, I'd still be delayed. Bruno, emerging from the inner room, couldn't help but tremble upon seeing assistant Claude. Brother Claude, you finally came. Is there something unsatisfactory? Mr. Bruno, we just finalized the cooperation. Why are you suddenly terminating the contract? Claude nervously observed Bruno's expression. I've already sent someone to deliver the items to your mother. Seeing assistant Claude's demeanor, even David, who wasn't the sharpest, should recognize the person's identity immediately. Are you really Bruno, CEO? David tripped over his words. Diego looked at his eldest brother and second sister, desperately scratching his head in anxiety. However, upon seeing the staggering figure approaching, he felt like he had seen a savior. Teacher! Here! He knew that Simon was bluffing. He glared fiercely at Simon. Their research group was a national project. No matter how influential Bruno and Anna were, they couldn't interfere with the state's managed research. He had to turn the tide for his eldest brother and second sister. However, when Yi Lao saw him immediately, he struck Diego hard with his cane. Who is your teacher? He then looked at Simon in front of him, his cloudy eyes filled with panic. Professor, there must be some misunderstanding. Please give me another chance. This project, it's the greatest honor of my life. How can you transfer me away? Diego looked at his teacher, the highly respected professor. To his shock, the professor's eyes were filled with obsequiousness as he pleaded with the young man, who was about his age. His heart turned to ashes, even if he didn't believe it anymore. The young man before him, who was about his age, was the youngest genius professor from University A. Chapter 5. The situation before everyone made it clear. Superstar Anna and her group were definitely known to them. It seemed that the eldest daughter of the Lin family was something formidable. They thought the Lin family had a keen eye for talent, but it turned out they had mistaken dubious individuals for genuine gems. Aurelia looked at me with a hint of grievance in her eyes. I know sister doesn't like me, but we are family after all. Sister, they are still children. If there's any dissatisfaction, just come to me. She then offered a gentle smile and walked up to Simon and the others. It's all just a misunderstanding. The weather outside is cold. Let's all take a break. Sister has come back after a long time. Let's enjoy this family gathering. At that moment, David and Diana also understood. Yes, Mom. It's all just a misunderstanding. Grandpa Lin looked at the pile of gifts with a mix of complexity and greed in his eyes. You haven't come home to visit for so many years. Your mom misses you too. Finish your meal and then leave. I looked at them with a cold smile. Since Mr. Lin has already severed ties with me, the gifts must not appeal to you. These meals, you can keep them and eat slowly, I added. Unexpectedly, the first person to step forward and make peace was Vincent. He looked at me with a mix of complexity and greed in his eyes. Freya, I know I've wronged you. These years you've suffered outside. I have no other intentions. Whatever you want as compensation is fine. I smiled sweetly at him. I knew what he was plotting. How could I not? Before I could finish speaking, Aurelia rushed out from behind him. Her eyes were filled with urgency and reluctance. She looked at the guests nearby and bit her lip. Sister, these years I've been taking care of the Ku family for you, raising their children. It wasn't just hard work but also sacrifices. I know you hate me for taking your place. You can hate me, but Mom, Dad, and the children are innocent. Why are you destroying them? They are your own flesh and blood. I looked at her with a hint of inscrutable meaning in my eyes, seeing her shamelessly defiant expression. A smirk of sarcasm curled at my lips. Aurelia, are you really sure? Are you really sure that the children you raised are mine? Are they truly my flesh and blood? As soon as these words came out, everyone couldn't help but cover their mouths in shock. They had heard a sensational bombshell. Mom, what do you mean by this? David stepped forward, his face pale. Bruno and the other two exchanged glances, their faces darkening. Weren't we supposed to keep this a secret from Mom? Simon and Anna looked at each other, realizing it wasn't their doing. These days, Mom had been looking at the photos, and they had assumed it was something else. A hint of sarcasm flashed in my eyes. Yes, if Anna hadn't recently dragged me for a medical checkup, I wouldn't have known that I had miscarried 3 times. Following the clues, I uncovered the truth from back then. Originally, I came here only to honor the elders and wanted to settle things privately. After all, they had once raised me. But now, it seemed unnecessary. Grandpa Lin stepped forward, looking at me coldly. Freya, you must be out of your mind. If you keep spouting nonsense, don't blame me for not recognizing you as my daughter. Freya, how can they not be your flesh and blood? Back then, you fainted from the pain to have them. I looked at them with indifference in my eyes. Am I lying? Mom, you should know best, right? That bowl after another of the pregnancy pills, weren't you the one who gave them to me? My good mother. I've always been nothing but a tool for you to raise Aurelia. You swapped the children Aurelia and Vincent had for mine. For every child Aurelia gave birth to, you killed one of mine. For Aurelia's reputation, you killed my children. Aurelia didn't go abroad. You hid her away to keep her pregnant. Dad, Mom, how can you be so biased? They are your grandchildren. Upon hearing this, everyone was utterly shocked. They looked at Aurelia's face with a mix of complexity, pointing fingers at the Lin couple even more. If they were indeed the eldest daughters of the Lin family, they wouldn't acknowledge this family no matter what. Bruno and the others felt a pang of sorrow in their eyes. They couldn't believe their mother had suffered such injustice. The Lin family had truly gone too far in deceiving people. Chapter 6. This is impossible. You must be lying. How could you not be my real mother? Otherwise, how could you possibly take care of me? After Diego finished speaking, his face was filled with disbelief. Yes, but unfortunately, you raised 3 ungrateful children. So, you're not our real mother. It wasn't just Diego. David and Diana looked at each other in disbelief. They couldn't accept this truth. No wonder. Aurelia as a stepmother was so good to my father's 3 children. This Lin family is truly heartless to their eldest daughter. I will never recognize this family again. Just now, you even tried to humiliate their daughter in such a setting. One after another, everyone turned against me. No way. We can't be illegitimate children. No wonder you treated me so well. So you're our real mother. No. I don't want it. I don't want you to be our mother. Diego's face was filled with deep frustration and regret. In wealthy families, the most despised are illegitimate children. Upon hearing his words, Aurelia's face instantly turned pale. This is ridiculous. Just a moment ago, you were all happily acting like a family. And now you turn against us? Now that your wishes have come true, Aurelia is our mother. Why are you suddenly so unwilling? I looked at the Lin family before me, utterly disappointed. This time I came home intending to make amends, to fulfill my last duty as a daughter, but I couldn't help but scoff. It seemed unnecessary now. If my 3 children were ordinary people, I would once again be the mud beneath their feet, trampled upon. Looking at my so-called relatives, I felt deep disappointment. Such familial bonds were better off non-existent. I ignored them and turned around to leave without hesitation. However, the 3 children of the Lin family became frantic, blaming all the mistakes on Aurelia. If you hadn't pretended so well, how could you offend my mother and make her not recognize us? The incapable members of the Lin family had shifted their grievances from me to Aurelia. From today onward, she became the laughingstock of their social circle. On the way, the 3 children looked at each other, unable to speak. They must have realized that Diego and the others were not my biological children. But the truth was too cruel. They didn't want me to face this harsh reality during the spring festival. However, I was no longer the Freya who yearned for her family's love, blood relation or not. It was just blood without true kinship. Before long, news spread that the Lin and Fu families were removed from the upper echelons of society. Originally, Bruno had partnered with the Fu family because of me. Without the Ku family as partners, the Fu family was nothing. Diana, after causing chaos by misleading public opinion, was terminated and no company dared to hire her. Diego had even replaced someone's position, trading degrees for money and forcing others to make way for himself, resulting in him being blacklisted from the academic community. Vincent went as far as wanting a divorce from Aurelia, sending those gifts to my residence for free, claiming they were to compensate me. Their entire family blamed all the faults on Aurelia. Grandpa and Grandma Lin even shakily came to my door, pleading with familial bonds to soften my heart. Their elderly, stumbling steps were heartbreaking, but as I presented one paternity test after another, all sympathy they once had turned into condemnation. Dad, Mom, this is the last time I'll call you like this. There is no longer any connection between us. What happened back then wasn't that simple. These children, fearing my distress, had worked hard to seek answers from the past. Under the influence of money and power, the truth buried by the Lin couple surfaced once more. It turned out I wasn't Lady Lin's biological child. When my mother, Lady Lin's sister, gave birth to me, she passed away shortly after. Her maternal family saw me as a disgrace, and coincidentally, Lady Lin's eldest daughter had a miscarriage, so they took me into their home. At first, they treated me as their own child, but since Aurelia was born, everything changed. Over the years, my contributions to the Lin family had freed me from any obligations to them. Now, there were no ties left between us. From that day on, I never saw any members of the Lin or Fu families again. After the elderly Lin couple passed away, Aurelia developed severe depression. Vincent flitted around, flirting as always. Despite their family no longer being prestigious, his habit as a playboy CEO remained unchanged. The 3 children of the Fu family blamed everything on Aurelia. They could have had bright futures, but Vincent brought his mistresses into the house, and the 3 didn't object. After gaining a bit of advantage, they quickly fought for benefits. All retributions bounced back onto her. Aurelia couldn't endure it any longer and set the house on fire. Vincent and she perished in the flames. The 3 Fu children became orphans. However, they were already adults and wouldn't be adopted by their unsympathetic parents. When I heard this news, I was tending to the flowers in my courtyard. The courtyard was bustling with life. Years passed, and Bruno became a business tycoon. Anna transitioned from a superstar to a boss, and Simon became a leading figure in academia, contributing to national research. They all found their own happiness, and I met a partner to spend the rest of my life with. Looking at the chattering, sweet-smelling children beside me, a soft warmth filled my eyes. Grandma, Grandpa, have some cookies. The children stumbled over their words, running over to offer the cookies baked by their daughter-in-law. So obedient they could melt anyone's heart. Looking at the new green leaves on the branches, without realizing it, The cold winter had passed. Everything was flourishing once again, and a smile naturally appeared in my eyes. Past conflicts had withered like fallen leaves, ultimately sinking into the soil, preparing to sprout for a beautiful future.